Hello everybody and welcome to the YouTube character profile re-upload for Gina Seddon, and this is a character that is very close to our heart, isn't it, Gemma? We loved a bit of Gina.
Yes, we did.
I think we were kind of on our own, maybe, loving Gina. I remember fighting against a tidal wave of Gina dislike when she was in the programme a few years ago, but I don't get it because she was just awesome, actually. And maybe if you listen to this, you'll find out why. I don't know.
I don't think you really do, because I was listening to it and I was like, we didn't really explain why we liked her very much. We just went on and on about how great she was.
She's just a load of fun, really, wasn't she?
She was fun, she was vulnerable, she was different.
She was kooky. And Connie Hyde is an absolutely fantastic actress. This was originally recorded for episode 335 of the podcast, which was about 3-4 months before Gina left, maybe a little bit longer than that. I think probably if I'd known that her exit was imminent, I might have held out for a little bit longer. But it does mean that when we finished playing the old character profile, please do stay on at the end and you'll get to find out what happened to Gina in the final few months. So without further ado, here's the Gina Seddon's character profile from a couple of years ago. Okay, character profile time. Here we got this week, Gemma. Who is up on the wheel of character profiles? Who've we spun?
Gina G.
Gina Seddon.
Why should she put Gina G on her dating profile?
Because it's cool and hip.
She's like, if they get that reference, they can date me.
Gina, we love Gina, don't we, on this podcast?
Oh, yes, we love Gina.
Needs more stuff to do.
I think she's doing enough at the moment.
She is doing enough. It's great to see her. I mean, this has been one of our biggest weeks this week, hasn't it? Which is why we decided to do a profile of her this week. I'm not too impressed with the whole I'm Fancy Tim thing, but it's nice that they're using her for something, because she's seriously gone under the radar a bit since her return last year. But we'll do our best to do a bit of a profile of her. I think this might end up being a bit of a short one, but even though she came into the show last year as Connie Hyde, she was in Coronation Street a little bit before that as well. Back in the 80s, it was a long gap that Gina had. So just to run down some of her fact file first, she was born in 1969 to Eddie and Elsie Seddon. She is, of course, Sally sisters.
She's Sally's
sister of Sally, and there's a little bit of it's a bit blurry, her backstory. I think there's been a bit of retconning and rewriting of Gina's history, because we believe that she has been married to somebody called Colin and somebody called Donnie, and Donnie was the dad of that Leah girl who's a stepdaughter that we saw for all of 5 episodes last year.
That was funny, wasn't it?
So Leah's this one daughter, but she was also supposed to have had 2 other children that have been referenced on the show, like in the 90s or the 2000s or whatever, when she wasn't actually in it. But I don't think she's actually got these children anymore. I think they've definitely been written out of the show. Definitely.
They drowned in the swimming pool.
She first appeared on the 14th of March 1988, and over the course of that year she was in 32 episodes, so not very much at all really, and now she's been in over 160. Back in the 80s she was played by Julie Foy, and now she is played by the lovely Connie Hyde. Now, I think, if I'm remembering rightly, if you've been watching the classic Coronation Streets on ITV3, you'll have seen old Gina, how she was back in the 80s, but I've only started watching it like 4 or 5 months ago, and I missed original Gina, so some people listening to this will know a lot more about what she was like back in the 80s than my research can tell me, but we'll do the best we can. Now the background to Gina was that she was part of the Seddon clan, and they were notoriously dodgy back in the 80s, and Eddie, her dad, was violent, he was abusive, he was drunk, he was a gambler. Sally was driven away from the family, but Gina stayed at home. She was the only one brave enough to stand up to him. She was always the kind of the ballsier of the two, and I think that's definitely carried over into her latest incarnation. Now, Julie Foy had been on a show called Jossie's Giants before Coronation Street. I have no idea what that is. And she was also in 1988 a programme that I think I need to watch called How to Be Cool.
So you can make sure they're doing it right.
Yeah, what? No, I need to learn from them.
No.
So this is what Gina got up to in 1988. She argued with her dad about this guy Billy, who was her boyfriend, an ex-con. It sounds like it could be our Billy, couldn't it? You know.
Yeah. I'm just gonna pretend it's Billy out of Hocus Pocus.
Okay. This finally causes her to leave home. She turns up at Sally and Kevin's house wanting somewhere to sleep for the night, and they're not very happy because she's got a bad reputation and they think they're never going to get rid of her.
Oh dear.
But they decide to give her a chance. They give her a bed because they don't want her going off with this dodgy Billy. So while Billy is working at Brian's garage with Kevin, Gina gets cosy with Martin Platt.
How rude.
I know, so rude. Billy catches them together at number 13 and has a bit of a fight with Martin. Kevin kicks Gina and Billy both out onto the street. So they're gone for a few months. Over in September, Billy's is behind bars again. He's got arrested for nicking cars, and Gina returns to the Websters. She apparently knew all along that Billy stole the car, but it takes Kevin to persuade her to tell the truth in court. And Gina is given £100 fine for keeping quiet about it.
They should give her £100 for admitting the truth. That's what used to happen on TV when we were kids. That's how you would get rewarded with material goods.
She goes for a job in the cafe. She works with Gail and Phyllis there for a bit. She kind of locks horns with Phyllis. And she also gets a sandwich round on a bike, although she prefers to use the transport to slack off and meet boys.
What a harlot. See, that's my word of the week. Harlot, use it in a sentence.
1989, she gets £1,000 insurance payout when Dad Eddie is killed in a lorry accident. She quits the job and leaves the street. And that's the last that we saw of Julie as Gina.
With £1,000 burning a hole in her pocket, do with the possibility.
Back in 1989, she'd probably buy a house up north.
A whole row.
So over the course of the 90s, the 2000s, we every so often hear a little bit about what Gina's getting up to. We learn that she's married this Colin guy who's apparently a long-distance lorry driver, and she moves to Newcastle. In 1996, she has her first child, and then in 1998, she has another. Well, this is all apparently. So this one that was born in 1998 would only be 20 this year, which means that when we saw her last year...
Really, they should have... Maybe they're at university.
Maybe they are. They're just, yeah. I don't know. I think we need to find some backstory about them, doing another bit of a paddling pool drowning or something, and she can bond with Jenny, maybe.
Maybe they are famous YouTubers and they don't need her money.
In 2001, Gina has appendicitis. Sally has to go and look after her, and in 2010, Sally goes to stay here again. After getting breast cancer, and that was obviously coincided with when Sally Deniver, or Whittaker as she was known then, got breast cancer herself, and she had to be away from Coronation Street for a bit. In the meantime, in between 2010 and 2017, she divorced Colin, married Donnie, who's already got this daughter Leah. She's diagnosed with bipolar, and and then these other children disappear, never to be heard of again. So 2017 was when...
they're going, click the like button, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know what you thought of this video and whether I should get back with my strange bipolar mum.
2017 was when we saw Gina again. You want to give us a quick rundown of what Gina's been up to in the past year and a half?
She's been up to so much stuff.
Not enough stuff.
In 2017, we all remember the fun times that Sally had when she was being hounded by an online stalker who posted a pig's heart to her, and also prank called her and told her that her cancer had come back.
Who would do such a thing? Was it Gina?
Was it Gina? Let's remember. Sophie and Rosie tracked the source down to a house, and the girl lives there, Lauren, who says it was probably her stepmother.
Is it Lauren, or is Lauren what I said earlier?
No, I don't think it's...
I said Leah. Was it
I
Leah
think it's
or was
Leah.
it Lauren?
Lauren's the one that got killed on the train.
What train?
Wasn't she the one that was a fellow...
Oh, yeah. You're right. Carry on.
Victim with...
Yeah.
I think... Do you know what? I think the name Lauren haunts the podcast.
Why?
Because often we'll say Lauren, and when we mean another name.
Do we?
Yeah, I think this is the beginning of a horror movie.
Uh-oh. I'm just going to... You keep talking, I'm going to have a look, and I'm going to check whether it's Lauren or Leah, because I'm not sure now.
Anyway, she says, it's probably my stepmother, and this turns out to be none other than, dun dun dun, Gina, the subject of this entire section, which makes sense. She tells them Gina has bipolar, but has received no support from Sally.
What?
which is why she probably was acting out and doing all this stuff, because she felt abandoned by her family. But when they meet up with Gina, she doesn't seem to have any idea about what they're talking about, any of this trolling, any of this abuse. Doesn't make
But
any
she
sense
starts
to
believe that she must have done it. Leah's kind of, or Lauren,
Or
or whatever
Lauren.
her name is, kind of gaslighting her, isn't she?
She's kind of like, well, yeah, maybe it was you, don't you think? I mean, who else could it have been? Doesn't make any sense. It would be me.
Our internet's down. I can't find out whether it's Leah or Lauren.
It's Lorelan.
So we're giving her an L.
Lolo.
Lara. No, Lara was the one that was in that got.
Do you know
was
what?
In the Nathan stuff.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
What?
Cancel all the names beginning with L.
No.
Cancel them. Why? What do you care?
I'm trying
You
to
don't
think.
know.
Do I
You
know
don't
anyone
have any
called?
L. I've only got one person. And I can just call her Arain.
Go
Sally
on.
and Tim go to meet out with Gina at her house, and Gina confesses it was her who was responsible for the trolling. It turns out it was Lilo all along, and she just tricked Gina into thinking it was her, and and thinking that it was a symptom of her bipolar disorder.
This is when they were pronouncing it trolling, wasn't it?
Trolling.
And we were like,
My mum says trolling.
Does she?
Well, I don't know if she still does, because I used to go.
It's like tortoise, all over again, isn't it?
It's like onions or onions. Onions. I like the word onions. Doesn't it sound more hearty? Would you like some
onion soup?
onion soup? Yeah, I would actually. Anyway, she gets a job at the factory and starts dating Dev. She still thinks that she was up to this, doesn't she? Or has she discovered that she wasn't?
No, it's Leah all along. It turns out it was.
Oh,
did
it's
we say
Lilo.
that?
Yeah, sorry, I said it was Lilo. She becomes obsessed with online shopping, all been there, collecting strange knickknacks, yes, look like decorative plates with dogs on them.
Otter hounds.
She puts Sally's name down. I know, the Otter Hound was the 80 quid plate. It was just brilliant. Puts Sally's name down as a guarantor on a loan. When she can't play up, the bailiffs come knocking during Sally's mayoral inauguration, and this makes it to the papers. Gina is devastated, and
She's devastated. Yeah,
because
bipolar was
the fact
splashed
that
over
she had bipolar was put everywhere, and she's like, oh, it doesn't define me. Poor Gina.
Papers aren't for revealing people's secret medical conditions. They're for publishing the racy short stories
No,
by local octogenarians.
Publishing short stories, publishing news articles 2 weeks after they've happened, and also writing everybody's name with their age in brackets directly after it.
Yes,
That's
that's how you be a journalist.
That's the only things you need to know if you want to be a local journalist.
Dev's really good throughout all this, isn't he? He's very understanding of her condition.
Oh, Dev is lovely, isn't he?
He
Yeah.
sees he's trying to cope as best she can with it.
Yeah,
And so he says, "You can come and
move in with me." And she goes, "You know what,
Happy
Dev?
future
I'm so
together.
happy. I've decided I'm going to start a business that I've always been passionate about for my whole life, which is to upcycle various items of clothing after the factory's closed."
Wait a minute, is this a Sinead story we're talking about here? Are you sure we're not doing a character profile
This has
in
always
Sinead?
been my passion. Me, Gina, I've always been passionate about upcycling old vintage clothing. So much so that my designs have been seen on none other than Tommy Orpington.
Tommy Orpington. Big
Local
Tommy
football
Orpington.
legend. In 2018, no one cares about those hats were 2017. Nobody talks about them ever again. Gina stops taking a medication because she just wants to be herself. This causes friction in the Metcalf household during one incident where she pretends she works at the garage and she books an MOT for a customer.
Yeah, Sally's car needs
She
a
kind of,
tyre changing, and
becomes-
Gina's like, "I can be a mechanic."
I know.
And then she
She
thinks
gets completely. She's in a manic episode and she gets completely carried away with her abilities to do anything. But then she gets arrested for stealing fish fingers. But the police officers are like, she's not well.
It's like Sally, the girls need their fish fingers. They've had fish fingers and chips for their dinner every day of their lives.
Yeah.
I haven't got any money. I'll get them for yourself.
And Anna going, stack the fish fingers. It makes it look more like a meal. Remember that? And she made the twins fish fin.
Was it fish finger rockets or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay, fish finger rockets. Oh, I want fish fingers now.
Fish fingers and custard.
No, fish fingers and, what's it?
Chips.
Tartar sauce in a nice batty. Where are we?
Here.
I'm not at a restaurant.
She's not charged.
She's not charged because the
arrested,
police
but
are like, yeah, she's not
nuts.
well. No, you can't say that. Dev vows to look after her because she is worth it. Remember when Dev was nice? Now, there's a party at Sally's and she goes absolutely wild playing a game of Twister.
This is the party that she invites everyone back to, isn't it? After the getting to know Pat party goes a bit wrong when he doesn't turn up because he's stuck in concrete. So Gina's like, let's just go and party at Sally's house.
Woo! Dev and Sally worry about her mental well-being, but she swears she just really likes being wild and carefree.
Yes.
Dev realises that he cannot cope with Gina's highs, and sees the twins think that they can't really cope with her either, and he ends their relationship. Gina then supports Sally after she's accused of fraud, even going so far, as we all remember quite recently, to hide the phone that she thought was linked to Duncan and Sally, so that the police can find her. And she got arrested for that, but she got let loose. And then she grows closer to Tim even now, as Sally is banged up.
So irresistible, that term.
I nearly said knocked up.
So Connie Hyde's obviously playing Gina at the moment, but Julie Foy, the original actress, she's doing quite well for herself as well. After Corrie, she went on to have a couple of roles in Casualty.
Is she related to Claire Foy?
I've got no idea. Press Gang. You remember Press Gang? That Walla Walla programme.
What is it about? Was it about kid journalists?
Yeah, kid journalists. Had Dexter Fletcher in and everything. She's mostly done theatre work, though, not so much TV. I've written here, but although I did read this a while ago, actually, because we were going to do...
This not? This is the book I read.
Is it?
It must be. It's the same concept.
Oh, maybe it is.
Me
What? No, the iPad... the internet's not working. There was... we were going to do a character profile on Gina last year when she came back into the programme, so these notes that I wrote, they're about a year old. So Julie Foy was going to be in a film called 6 More Sleeps. I assume that's come out now, I don't know. About 2 scientists that go out to search for 6 women to help them repopulate the planet after this imminent apocalypse. Is that come out now? I don't know. That she had made it clear quite a few times that she'd like to return to the programme as Gina, but sadly, when Corrie actually wanted the character back, she was unavailable to do it. Now, she's still done pretty well, though, because in March this year...
I don't think it is. I think it's...
Is it Missing in Action? Oh, well. It doesn't matter, though. She's got an Oscar. She won...
Oh, yeah.
She got her Oscar this year for this short film, The Silent Child, about a deaf child who Julie was associate producer on. So, Oscar for Corrie's star, that's pretty good. Got best short film.
I'd love an Oscar and I'll never get one. But this is like Oscar by default, isn't it?
Definitely. 6 degrees between us and Julie Foy.
No, I'm saying, if you're going to get an Oscar, and people are like, oh, what's an interesting fact about you? Oh, I've won an Oscar. What for? Short film. Oh.
The Silent Child. Have you seen it?
Interested. No one's going to be interested in Oscar for best. People only care about best actor, best actress, and best movie.
I know.
Don't they? It's really all the people that get Oscars. They throw Oscars left, right, and centre. Why don't they? They should open it up a bit more, like they do with like they did with the old soap ones, and have like best sexiest. They would get way more people watching it.
Hey, what's happening with the best popular film or something Oscar? Is that?
What's that?
Wasn't there something about... Oh, it doesn't matter.
All their boring... All the Oscars are boring. All the films that win are boring.
I know.
I don't care.
Topic.
I don't care if you think I'm wrong, because you're wrong. They're always boring. They always get it for boring. They always get it for boring biographies of people, don't they? Oh, it's a film about a man who blah blah. It's a film about a woman who blah blah blah.
I know.
Oh,
I never know any of the
And then
Oscar
people
films.
come out and they cry. If you cry and if you come out of a film and it's December and it was about somebody who did something who was a real
Oscar.
You've watched an Oscar-winning movie. And if it's got what's her face, Jennifer Lawrence, then definitely.
2016, back on track. What were we talking about? This is quite interesting because Sally, when Kate Oates became producer for Coronation Street, there was an interview with Sally Dinner saying, "Oh yeah, you produced me and everything. What I'd really like is if Gina could come back." And she says, and I don't know whether Kate read this and goes, "Oh yeah, maybe I should," because apparently there hadn't been any talk about Gina going back at the time. Sally had just said, "Oh, I think it'd be quite nice if she could if they casted you Gina," and she just turns up in Corrie after all these years.
And
can you help put it out there?
Julie Foy was like,
I'm busy.
"Excuse me,
So anyway,
but ask me first."
we found out on the 15th of March last year that Gina would come back. This is quite interesting because there were photos of Gina like slumped outside a tree or next to a tree in a park or something, and it was widely reported in the tabloids that she was going to come back as a spice addict.
I know, and just think that they're going to be touring next year.
Not that one, the one that Summer took in the end. So they were right. There's going to be spice.
They obviously got told by two people. Well, they obviously got this picture, and then they got told there was going to be that, and then they put two together.
There was a quote from The Sun. They said, filming pictures revealed a dishevelled Gina slumped in a park after becoming addicted to the dangerous drug that is sweeping the nation. It was actually just the scene where Gina ran off after thinking that she'd been Sally's troll. She ran off ashamed of herself, and Tim had to go and find her. So I don't know whether somebody put that idea out there to the newspaper or whether they just put two and two together and got a 5. I don't know. But yeah, Connie Hyde is our new Gina, and she'd been in...
I wasn't looking forward to Gina's return when they said she was going to come back as some addict of this weird zombie drug.
No, I didn't either.
I don't like drugs.
I was very, very pleased to hear that it was going to be Connie Hyde because I absolutely loved her when she was in The Bill, where she played Kathy Bradford, who was also crazy. She's a bit of a psychopath, wasn't she?
I don't think you're allowed to say crazy. I've been stopping you. I've been...
Sorry.
Reading You can't say that.
Kathy Bradford was a bit of a bent copper. I know. I'm sorry. But she was brilliant. She was psycho. She was
okay, but she was psycho in a TV show in which we did not.
She wasn't medically diagnosed.
It wasn't medically diagnosed with it, and of the era that the TV show was on. You have no other information about the character other than she was a psycho. She was not
for that disclaimer.
Set up with any kind of mental disorder or disclaimers or background. She was just classic.
She was a baddie.
Classic TV crazy,
yeah.
Okay?
I thought she was a fantastic actress in that. When I heard she was going to be in Corrie, I was so happy, and she's not let me down at all. She's also in some other things I hadn't seen. She was in Casualty, she was in Holby, she was in Doctor, she was in Waterloo Road, and she was in The Vicar of Dibley, and I didn't realise this until I was doing my research on it as well. The Songs of Praise episode with The Vicar of Dibley.
One of the classics.
She was in... That was my mum's favourite episode, obviously, because my mum liked a bit of Songs of Praise. She was going out with... Peter Capaldi's character, and when I was also doing this research, I didn't realise it was Peter Capaldi who's the last Doctor in this episode. So I was like, I'm going to watch these clips. It's like, oh yeah, it's Peter Capaldi and Connie Hyde playing Tristan and his girlfriend.
TV, unless you know who the actor is, you just see blurs, don't you?
Yeah, I totally do. So that was cool that I'd seen her in that. And also, interesting fact about Connie Hyde is that she is jolly good friends with Julie Hesmondhalgh.
They all know each other.
They do. Right, so what she said, quote...
Inside Soap quote. Go on then.
I've been an actress for 27 years and it's always been my dream to be on Coronation Street. I grew up with the show and I was so excited about the role. I felt like I knew Gina straight away.
That's lovely.
That's what she said when she got the job.
She's so great at playing her.
So how do you think that Coronation Street's done a good job of showing her bipolar and showing
I'm not sure that they have. I feel as though we have been invited to fill in a lot of the blanks.
I think that they're doing a good job of showing that there's two sides to her. We see her highs and her lows, for sure.
Yeah, it's sympathetic, but it's not educational.
No, well, the part of the problem is we don't get to see enough of her because there's often long gaps that there's barely any Gina, or if there is, she's just doing a bit of sewing in the factory and making a few funny comments. She hasn't had many stories, has she? She kind of got sucked into the black hole that is the relationship with Dev, and we didn't really get to see it. It was hinted at, and I really did like how Dev was very supportive of her. Originally, yeah. It's just a shame how it went sour for no particular reason other than to set up this storyline where somebody said, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea if Gina fell in love with Tim while Sally was in prison? But I think a lot of people don't like Gina, and I've done a little bit of research on this online and looking on forums and everything, and it looks like lots of people find her very, very irritating.
No.
Because of these manic patches that the character goes through, but I think that's one of the things that makes her most endearing. I love her being crazy. She's not...
God, you've done
I've said it again. You know what I like. You know what I mean.
You can't say you love her being crazy.
I love that she's just so off the wall and unpredictable.
At least you're honest.
And
yes, her unpredictability is what makes her intriguing.
She's a very unique character.
Yes.
I don't think there's anyone quite like her.
She's vulnerable. She is not afraid to stand up for herself. She doesn't want to be defined by her disorder, but she has to live with it all the time. When she doesn't treat it, it kind of wrecked her life.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It is difficult in a way to separate her bipolar from her personality, because I feel like a lot of her personality is the sort of thing, like she acts impulsively, or she can be quite innocent, or she's rash and she does things like hides mobile phones, and you think you shouldn't do that. She makes a great soap character because of those things.
Yeah.
And I think also because of what a brilliant actress Connie is, I honestly think that her portrayal of Gina as having bipolar makes you feel very sympathetic to her. And
I don't get how people can't like her, because I think that she's such a brilliant character.
I don't understand how.
I'm quite surprised how she doesn't seem to be going down very well.
I wonder whether people haven't really fully taken on board the fact that, cause this is what I said, I don't think that they really go on about her being bipolar very much. So I think perhaps if you kind of let some people watch it and they don't really take things in. So if you weren't thinking, oh, she's acting like this because she's not medicated at the moment, maybe you would find her a bit confusing, because sometimes she is up and sometimes she's down. That's the whole point of bipolar disorder.
Yeah, when she's down, it's tragic, isn't it? I just want to give her a big hug when she's there, crying with Deb. I loved the relationship with Deb at the beginning, because he was so supportive of her, and when she got arrested for the fish finger stealing and everything, he was there for her, and I thought it was really lovely. And it's just a shame how it's turned sour for no particular reason. He and the twins suddenly decided they couldn't put up with Gina anymore.
Yeah, and I think
tragic.
Like, mental health is obviously spoken about quite a lot. Recently, there've been lots of people talking about the importance of mental health, but I do think that depression and suicidal thoughts are what you immediately think of now if you think about mental health issues. And I think things like bipolar disorder and OCD that Craig's got are not spoken about or talked about because they're a bit more complicated, and it's more difficult for people to understand. Like, everyone can sympathise or empathise with somebody who's depressed because everyone's been sad, and you can conceive of what it must feel like, even if you don't fully understand it. Yeah, you don't really know,
but
you can say, I mean,
I must know. I've got an idea what it might be like.
It's not like incomprehensible for somebody who is not depressed to understand what depression is as a concept. You can't fully understand it unless you've had it, but it's not like a bridge too far for me to imagine. Whereas OCD and bipolar and other things like that aren't explored as much and aren't really spoken about. Like, there's no like big support for Gina as a character. Nobody's like, there's no like rally around her character when she goes through something. There's no hashtags for bipolar disorder like we had with Aidan, and you know what I mean? And when Steve had depression too. Yeah. Because I think it's something you always live with, isn't it? Whereas depression is hopefully a temporary.
Yeah, I don't want a bipolar to define her and like have all these stories.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's down to the character to decide, or the person to decide. Like, and she has been clear in saying, I don't want it to define who I am. But at the same time, it's a disservice to the potential of the character to educate and help people who have bipolar to not talk about it.
So, do you reckon that? Do you think it's over for her and Deb? I mean, I think after this week it probably is.
I hope so.
But I just wonder who they're going to pair it with next. Does she need a partner? Is there anybody that could put up with her? I think that maybe Kevin could.
I think
that would work well because the Sally and Kevin link and everything. Although it would be a bit.
The trouble is,
unlikely.
Connie Hyde does such a great job of, to me, playing her sympathetically that I feel like who deserves Gina, but actually, bipolar disorder is obviously very difficult for even the person who has it to deal with. So
there's got to be somebody that could be very understanding.
But do you know what I mean? It's played sympathetically. It's not played like.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like the characters at the moment that are her age, like Peter and Steve and similar, Nick. it'd be interesting to see Nick and
I can't
Gina
imagine
together
them
because
ever
they
together.
both have issues, don't they, with their
So-
brains.
Nick's got soap disorder,
Yeah,
where he's got some kind of
I've been hit by-
unspecified mental problem.
I've been involved in a car crash and
It's
it makes
becoming
me go
less
nuts.
socially acceptable for soaps to even do.
I don't know whether I'd like her to have a partner just because I think it might give her a bit more screen time, but I don't think she needs one. If she were to stay single, I'd be perfectly happy with that.
I don't think she particularly needs one. I think she needs a family. She needs
somebody to love her.
People who have to put up with her, who she can kind of have a spat with, and they have to forgive her. That's what she needs, because
she wasn't
it
coping
didn't
on her
work
own, was
with
she?
Dev.
When Tim and Sally first found her, she was in that horrible flat. What was she doing? Making teddy bears or stuff in teddy bears or something? And it was her life was a bit of a mess. But since coming to Coronation Street and staying with Dev for a bit, and now the Metcalf, she's come out the other side of it.
I mean, it really does make you wonder: is she capable of
looking after herself?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know very much about bipolar disorder apart from the fact that I have got a relative who has it, and she is not very capable.
Yeah, it's almost like a bit of a big kid.
Like every time it feels like she's getting anywhere, it just everything goes wrong, and you're right. She's very immature, and she can't really just never kind of sticks with anything. And she can't impose her own structure. And I don't know on the scale of things where that is and where Gina is on that scale. And obviously there is a scale, and people who have it have various, capabilities, or it impacts their life in a different way, and medication will affect that differently. So it's a bit heartless, really, of Sally to say, "Oh, she can move out. It's about time she moved out by herself," because from what we've seen of Gina in the time she hasn't been in the show, she's spiraled into complete.
Yeah, I mean, Sally should know that she can't really live on her own.
Well, I mean, can she? Can she live by herself but near people who love her and support her? Does she need to be in the house with them, or is it enough that she's just down the road?
Yeah.
Don't want to take away agency from the character, or
I mean, there's always an empty flat around somewhere.
Yeah, but I don't want to suggest that people who have it can't do that. But I don't know about Gina.
I think
just dancing around the fact that this is a thing that people really have.
I think that if Gina was living on her own somewhere, she'd end up getting herself into some kind of problem with, spending. She already got Sally almost ruined financially because of those plates. I think that she would have some kind of secret habit or something that would just spiral out of control.
But would
I don't
it be
think
fair
that she
for
can
Coronation
regulate.
Street to talk about? This is the thing. Is it sensationalist to have a storyline about that? Is it unfair, or is it actually like, no, that is actually what it's like?
I'm sure it is.
We
for
don't
some
know.
people.
Yeah, I know. But
And Connie has done some work with people with bipolar and learned all about it.
She's such a great actress.
I know,
and I love Gina,
so
and I would
good.
watch any storyline with Gina, even this stupid Tim one.
Yeah,
I'm hanging on because I like
it.
Connie Hyde.
Yeah. Oh, I wish that she'd stuck around with Dev longer, because she needs to be with somebody who can love her and cherish her and provide for her. And Dev's, financially quite well off.
I know.
She was in a nice, safe little bubble there, wasn't she? Little maid.
Sally and Tim don't appreciate her. What I want to happen is Tim to realise that Gina's coming on to him and go, "Oh yeah, that's all right, I'll have a bit of that then." Try and have an affair with her, and then she realises that this is not right, breaks up with him. Sally gets out of prison, finds out what Tim does, kick him out, and then they live together, sisters doing it for themselves.
Do you think that she, at the moment, realises that her feelings for Tim are wrong? Because she's still seeming quite upset that Tim's kind of shunning her advances, or not even advances. When Tim was saying in today's episode, "Oh, Sal, you're the one for me," she looked upset. I think she's painted herself this fantasy in her mind that this unrealistic idea of her going off with Tim, but she's not
Yeah,
really
but the
thought of
thing
the
is,
consequences.
Like, a lot of people are quite capable of holding two contradictory beliefs at once. Like, I'm sure she can believe in her mind nothing's going on, it's all completely innocent. Also, Tim loves me.
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to see any more of this clothes pimping stuff?
I hope not. I don't want to see anything about it ever again.
I don't mind it. I mean, because I like the idea of her potentially working at Sinead's shop, which, if that ever happens, I mean, what's going on there? Because didn't her and Daniel buy it a couple of months ago?
That's what I mean. Don't even talk to me about it.
Why?
Ugh.
Because of Daniel and Sinead?
Daniel and Sinead getting involved in it. Sinead saying it's a lifelong dream and they should have thought of it last week. Gina's been doing it the whole time.
It might come back again, I guess.
I'm sure it'll be back in it again. I'm just not bothered.
And if they want to keep the character in as well, I think that one producer, one of these days, is going to bring back these children, these mystical 96, 98 children, and say, oh yeah, Gina's had these all along. We did mention it, we just haven't mentioned it recently, but it doesn't mean that they didn't exist.
Well, it's certainly not I mean, given
having a ready-made family.
But what I'm saying is, given the way that Gina has acted on the street and seeing her behaviour at times has been very destructive, I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't have kids that she never thought about. Or
I guess that they maybe went off with that first husband, Colin, was it? And she's just been estranged from them because of her behaviour, and maybe Colin couldn't cope with her.
Maybe they were like, well, you can't.
Bipolar.
Yeah, I'd rather you didn't ever see the children again because you're not.
But I certainly think that somebody could come looking for her one day, and or
kind
she
of
finds out that
them.
they've been killed or something, and that spirals her down
it'd be
into another
interesting to have a
depression.
storyline where she's confronted in a similar way to the way Abby was confronted, but with an older child. Like, I know you have your own struggles and your own demons, and I don't blame you for being ill, but I didn't have my mum. That would be heartbreaking because you'd feel sorry for both of them.
Yeah.
Because one thing about Gina is that she doesn't. I just always, no matter what, I feel so sympathetic to Gina. I just want to protect her.
I mean, you say Abby, she's very much like Abby, isn't she?
Abby
can't really look after herself.
No, but Abby, I think, has just made bad decisions.
Yeah.
I don't, Abby's got fewer excuses in a way because she's not had, Gina's got a lifelong struggle against this.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the solution, I don't know what you can do about it. I don't know if you have therapy and as well as medication or what happens to you.
They're both very vulnerable. They're both
vulnerable. They've both messed up.
They both can make bad decisions. I mean, Gina still does.
Yeah, I mean, you can sort of say it's not.
But
you can also say about Abby. Well, she's a product of her environment, and people who are stuck in that kind of cycle of poverty and drug addiction are victims as well, just as much as somebody who has mental health issues.
I think lots of people look down on both characters as well, and they.
Well, lots of people look down. I mean, even now, even with all this stuff about mental health, people still look down on people who have mental health problems because they can't see it and they don't understand why somebody is not acting the way they expect they should. Or
I'd quite like to see maybe a friendship develop between Abby and Gina. I think they'd probably get on quite well. I think they make quite a
I don't know.
Team.
I think I'd rather they just kind of acknowledged one another as. You people call me crazy, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know.
That reminded me of another thing I liked about Gina when she was she's been really supportive of Jack, hasn't she? With his
I know, yeah.
and his leg was
so
off,
sweet.
and there was that scene when she was saying, people always stare at me, but I just stare right back at them.
That was brilliant.
Really,
she's
really good.
She's so great.
And sometimes she'll say very serious things, like after Aidan died, and what was it? Was Beth trying to say that it was his fault, or Beth made some unfortunate comment, and Gina said no.
Selfish. Selfish.
And Gina's like, no, it's
not a choice.
Yeah, exactly. She can.
She gets it.
Yeah.
She's like a champion of mental health issues on the show, and I like that they've got a spokesperson who's talking about the complicated things that aren't So, you know, I think depression is... I think it's still obviously a problem, but I think that if you've got depression, I think it's probably easier for you to know that that's, you know, there's help.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, it's not always that easy, but I don't think that people know as much about bipolar. I mean, I got a relative who's got it, and I don't know very much about it.
Yeah. Right. I think that's about it.
Are you going to read out
I've got a quote. This is the quote from Connie. I can't remember when she said this. Actually, she says she's quite childlike. There's a certain innocence. She lacks in conscience, and she does irrational things without thinking. Gina acts impulsively, and I love that quality in her. It can get her into a lot of trouble, which is also very interesting to play. Her foremost quality is to dive in there and regret later. I love that there are both sides to her character. She's multi-layered, she's complicated, but I love the fact that we can also find the comedy in there. I think Connie has really got the number on her character.
She really understands Gina so well, and I think that's how she can play her so well.
Yeah, which is why it's a shame that they don't give her enough as much screen time as I think that she deserves.
You can't have everybody on it all the time.
I know, but she's one of my favourites.
I'd rather watch as many scenes as we have with Michelle in. But with Connie, you know?
Yeah.
Kim Marshall.
Yeah, instead. Right, long may she continue in Coronation
Long may she
Street.
reign.
Yes, definitely. Love her, keep her in, give her something to do. Gina, we still love you. Well, why do everyone hate Gina? We love Gina. Gina's amazing. She's fantastic. And Connie Hyde is lovely. And come back, Gina. # bring back Gina. She is on my list of ones that have absolutely got to come back soon, haven't they?
Yeah, bring back Henry, bring back Gina, bring back Lolly, bring back... I can't remember her.
Those will do, to be honest.
Lolly's in...
she is in Waterloo Road. She's going to be, isn't she, Kate Pierce? Yeah.
Now, why on earth isn't Henry, George Banks in... Waterloo Road as the eccentric, hilarious English teacher who is going to be far better at teaching than Daniel.
I don't know. Why isn't Connie Hyde? I don't know what Connie Hyde's doing at the moment, actually.
Listening to this.
Maybe she's listening to this. I don't know. We did see a little short film with her and Julie Hesmondhalgh a few years ago, didn't we? It was like based on an interview. That was quite cool. So do check that out.
That was good. She was good in that.
For you. She's bloody brilliant as Connie Hyde. Let's scroll back a little bit and just tie a bow in the character story of Gina Seddon. And because when we last left you a few years ago, she was Sally had just been sent to prison, so she was free to get her claws into old Tim, wasn't she?
That's right. Her and Tim. It was looking dodgy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sally ends up getting sent down because she gets embroiled in this fraud story with this guy called Duncan who tricked her, didn't he? And Gina turns against Sally, even though she was, you know, her best champion, like stealing things and doing dodgy stuff. She just said the
wrong thing on the stand.
Well,
she was asked, wasn't she, whether she could say for certain that Sally wasn't having an affair with Duncan, and Gina was like, no, I can't say for certain. She was just really honest.
Well, you can't ever say anything for
help.
Sure, can you? Even if you've seen it with your own two eyes, because it could be in the Matrix.
I always found it very, very hard to say anything against Gina, because I felt like I was always defending her when she was in the programme, and I will still defend her to the death, although this blossoming affair that was coming up at the end of when was it? Where were we? 2018 at this point? I can't remember.
It's all Tim's fault.
It wasn't looking good, but I still think she was painted as being a bit of a villainess, because they did get a bit closer. But if you remember, everybody, it was the beginning of December that year, Tim got massively drunk after a works Christmas do, and then he ends up kissing Gina.
Now, whose fault is that?
It's Tim's fault, everybody. Tim's fault.
Gina
was just a hottie.
Really, like, an evil... You know... right, okay. This is a bit of a tangent. If you are a Star Wars fan, you might have come across the theory that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord. And if you haven't heard this theory before, I encourage you to go and look it up, because it's actually really entertaining. There is a theory that if you watch all of the prequel movies of the Star Wars, like episodes 1, 2 and 3, if you watch, actually, there's an argument to be made that Jar Jar Binks was behind most of the bad things that happened, and he's secretly on the dark side, right? He's like well known as a kind of fairly maligned comical character that people love to hate, yeah? Tim is the dark Sith Lord of Coronation Street, who's secretly behind all the bad things that happen. He's the one that ruined Sally's political career. He's the one that seduced Gina and ended up making her leave in disgrace. How did I know
this character profile of Gina would be an opportunity for you to get your claws into Tim once more?
Tim is Jar Jar Binks.
Well, I mean, Gina did end up taking him to bed, but I don't think they slept together.
No, they
I think
didn't.
she made out that they had.
I think she pretended that they woke up, didn't they, in the same bed?
Yeah.
And
I think Sophie saw them together, or Gina coming out of his room or something like that. And Gina, as she was a little besotted with Tim at the time, didn't do very much to quell the rumours that they'd done it.
Living a fantasy, wasn't she, of, yes, we're together.
But she gets the first scene on the Christmas Day episode that year as well, where she's swinging around the kitchen singing in Most Wonderful Time of the Year. So she was on cloud 9, but Tim ends up throwing her out, so she has to shack up with Kevin instead. I think it was late that year or early the next year, I can't remember. But she was still trying to get Sally out of prison at this point, wasn't she? So one thing that she did in early 2019, I'm going to say I've completely lost track of the years, I think that's right, is that she broke into Duncan's house to look for evidence there, and it was quite exciting, and she had to end up hiding under the bed when she came home or something. And then that was the end of the episode that ended with him getting hit by a truck. Remember that one?
Brilliant.
That just came out of nowhere. That was amazing.
This is Duncan from Corrie, not Duncan from Blue.
Yes, or Duncan Lindsay.
Yeah.
Soap journalist.
That was like, who was it? Was that the one where he steps into the road and he's like, rah, 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 boom.
Yeah, because Tim's giving him a bit of a runaround, doesn't he? And he very cockily walks into the road and gets smacked. It came out of nowhere. That was amazing.
Is this probably what caused Tim's future heart problems?
Maybe.
All that running around.
Yeah, probably didn't happen.
Don't do exercise.
That led to the precipitation of the ending of Sally's prison story, though, because I think he's in prison, then his ex-wife turns up. Turns out that he's a dodgy geezer. This ex-wife that he told was dead, and Sally ends up coming out of prison pretty quickly afterwards, which is good and everything, but I did think that the ending to that story was
the British justice
a little
system
weak.
On Coronation Street is hilarious, really, isn't it?
It
is exactly like we always say. The metaphor we always use for it is that whoever's the lead villain in a storyline to do with a court case is like the head vampire, and then once they die or get imprisoned, all the other vampires turn to dust,
basically,
and then you get let out of prison. I think that's free.
Yeah, well, Sally came out, but she was not happy with Gina when she found out what she was getting up to with Tim. She disowned her, refused to have anything to do with her.
Harsh.
And Gina had more woes coming up that spring as well, because she got blamed for taking some money, because all the factory had done a little collection to get money to throw Sally a party, but then the money went missing. And they thought that Gina took it, but it was actually Kevin who took it to go on holiday. Yeah, I think he just accidentally took it or something.
No, I'm just saying, Kevin.
I think Sophie put it through his letterbox or something in an unmarked envelope.
Well, there seemed to be a lot of that back in the day, because didn't Billy do that at one point? Put money through people's letterboxes.
He did, yeah. And old Gary with his money for him around recently.
If you get money through the letterbox in Coronation Street, it's just easy come, easy go, isn't it? You just quickly turn it into a plot.
Well, anyway, Gina threatens to leave Weatherfield after this, but Kevin has to beg her to stay because he says, "No, it was me. I took the money. Don't take it on too hard on yourself." So then she joined the rest of the machinists in protesting, because this is all around the factory roof disaster kind of story. Carla had closed down the factory because she knew that the roof was dodgy. However, I can't remember, had she told the factory girls that it was dodgy?
Because she was trying to get out of it, wasn't she? That's the reason that everyone blamed her.
Yeah, that's right. And Sally and Gina ended up climbing up onto the factory roof, having a bit of a tussle over a banner, didn't they? And Sally falls backwards through the factory roof, with Gina peering down at her possibly dead sister, many feet below her. But she's all right. They're both okay. They're fine. In the end, Gina starts worrying that she and Sally were responsible for the roof collapse and Rana's death, because she didn't end up.
They were farting around on the top.
Yeah, but they learn it was sabotaged by. They currently think it's Rick Neelan who did it. It was Gary, everybody, don't forget. And then that was it for Gina, really. She ended up leaving Weatherfield, not before helping Tim out when he had a mini heart attack.
Should have left him to die.
This helps her kind of work things out with Sally before she leaves Weatherfield for a fresh start in Liverpool, and that was the last we saw of her. So very sad. Her exit was announced. Connie's exit was announced on the 18th of March that year, and the door was very much left open. And I think it was mere weeks before her exit had been officially announced that Connie Hyde came onto the podcast for an interview. And I thought, again, if I'd have just held out for a little bit longer, I could have done a proper exit interview with her and asked her about the factory collapse and everything. Or did I ask her about the factory collapse? I can't remember. I've lost track of my timeline now. But anyway, one thing that Connie did say to me is that she's really holding out hope that Coronation Street will have her back. The door is left open.
Well,
She's
she got a
strong
shout out.
ties to the street. She did get a shout out this week, which is why...
Which is the week of the 21st of February.
Yes, and so Sally was Sally's heard that Gina's bipolar's not doing so well, whatever that means. any excuse to get a character to go off on Dancing on Ice, such and such as so and so's condition is not doing so good. I've got to go and look after them for a bit.
And also, her one of her daughters, because we were talking about the mystery children that Gina had 3 of, and only one of them ever appeared on the show, and they never mentioned the other 2. And we were sort of remarking upon the fact that perhaps the Coronation Street's pretending they didn't exist, but we know now that she's living with one of her children.
Yes, Judy,
who is concerned about her dear old mum, and trying to organise quizzes, online Zoom quizzes.
I hope she comes back.
Don't know that's going to help.
It's been like 3 years since we've seen Gina.
She is great.
April 2019 was her last appearance after 203 episodes on the programme.
If I were in charge of Coronation Street and somebody said to me, let's bring back Gina, I would go, perfect, I know exactly what to do. Bernie versus Gina, love rivalry for Dev. And Dev...
Yes!
It is, the thing is, right, everybody thinks that it's quite unlikely that Dev's going with Bernie at the moment, but Dev's got a bit of form now, hasn't he, for going for unlikely women.
I think that Gina was more his style, because when she wanted to, she could scrub up proper, couldn't she?
No, but
she
both Bernie and Gina have twinkle in their eye, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And they were also both looked down upon by the other residents of the street for various reasons, you know. And I just really would love to see Gina versus Bernie trying to win Dev's heart.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think...
Because they're both brilliant. Both the actresses, I love them. They're both so charismatic. And they work really well with Dev. And I can just see Dev, like how would you play it, though? Dev, would he be, like, trying to woo them both? Or would he be overwhelmed, like a man encased in a cloud of puppies or trying to lick his face at once, going, I'm not really sure if I like dogs or cats.
See, I think he has joked about going out with Bernie in the past, hasn't he? And he's kind of made fun of her. And
aren't they dating now?
No, they're not at the moment, because they had that little fallout recently.
I know, but the thing is, they are on and off again, aren't they?
Yeah, I didn't like how they split Dev and Gina up. I thought they had the potential to be a really great couple.
Well,
and I think that really, if he had the option, he'd go for her. She's just a bit less rough than Bernie. Although,
excuse me, she's a Seddon.
She's a Seddon, I know. She has scrubbed up a lot since the 80s.
She's from a right rough family.
Yeah. Anyway.
Don't let the fact her sister was the mayor fool you into thinking just because she collects dog plates doesn't mean that she's aristocratic.
I'm still holding out hope, and I know it's not going to happen, that when Sally does return, she's going to... Well,
Sally?
I know she's not left yet, but we know that she's going to be disappearing off to do her Dancing on Ice imminently. When she does return, she'll bring Gina back with her. I'd absolutely adore that.
Wouldn't that
Come
be
on,
wonderful?
Coronation Street, do it for me. Because I would very much like to see her on the programme again and settle down with Dev and just have lots of lovely fun times. She's just a load of fun. She's really fun, isn't she? And I want to be defending her again on the internet. I want a cause to rally behind.
Yeah, she's fun. She is fun, and she's the middle-aged contingent, isn't she, of Coronation Street?
Yeah.
We want these characters who are middle-aged to have exciting adventures and to
she's still good, because she's so lively, isn't she? Like you said, she's got a proper twinkle, and Connie Hyde is such a really, really, really good and fun actress. Oh, she's amazing. I'd like to see more. Did we see much of her with Abby in the past? Did we? I think that
we definitely mentioned
we mentioned her in the last character profile, did we? I can't remember now. You know everyone.
Well, you just listened to it.
You listened to this, but I could definitely see those two getting
friends?
up to mischief together. Yeah,
or getting into drugs.
Maybe. Anyway, that's it for our return to the Gina Seddon character profile. Hopefully, we'll be able to update this again in the future. I've got a feeling that maybe that won't happen, but I don't know. I'm holding out hope. I love her. Gemma loves her. If you love her, write in and let us know. conversationstreet@gmail.com. And if you are Connie Hyde, we love you still.
Yes, always. Love forever. Mwah.
Goodbye, everybody. Ta-ra.